Breath of the Wild.
Welcome to the inaugural episode
Yes.
of At the Arcade. It's a brand new kind of review type video game discussion show.
Get your quarters, get your corgi ears, because we're going to review some stuff, and we're going to tell you if you like it or not.
We're talking about Breath of the Wild.
We are talking about Breath of the Wild. The pros, the cons, what we liked, what we didn't like, specifically in a few different categories, and we're going to elaborate on them as well.
We both completed the main story.
Yes.
We won't be going into detail. If we do, then there'll be like a big flash on the screen that's like, spoilers!
Mm-hmm. We both completed the main quests.
Yeah.
The very first thing we want to touch on is voice acting in this game and how we feel like it went overall.
Yes.
And I think for the most part that it was a very deserved breath of fresh air in the Zelda franchise, because not only did it make me want to play the game more because it gave me more story within the scenes that we saw on the trailer whenever the Switch was announced.
Yes.
It also just added so much more to the game and the characters and made me feel for them more because I wasn't having to read dialogue the entire game.
Yeah, I agree.
You agree totally.
I love. It's the first time that a Zelda game has done voice acting, and it was fantastic, and I loved it with a few exceptions.
Few exceptions.
For me, one exception.
I have two exceptions. My exceptions are, I'm always going to mess up his name, but it's Yonobu. Is that correct? Yeah, Yonobo. He is the Goron that you meet whenever you first go to Goron City. And his voice did not match his character in the slightest. It was annoying, and not to mention, I just don't like the character in general. But I didn't think that voice matched up at all. It didn't add anything to the scenes or anything like that. And I didn't like Zelda's voice in most of the scenes I see her in. Anytime she's acting somber or upset or trying to be happy, even though she is really feeling upset about something, I think the voice works well for that. But her just talking in general, like when she's like telling you like, Link, go to this place, do that, do this, it doesn't make any sense why she has such this thick, weirdly English accent when her father doesn't have that, and no one else you meet in the entire game has that accent either. It just feels out of place.
So I don't remember Yonobu's voice at all. He was very forgettable.
Help!
Yeah, he was
forgettable.
Just mainly forgettable for me. I disagree on Zelda. I love Zelda's voice. I understand that she has this out of place British accent, but at least to me, whenever thinking of like the English language and royalty, I associate that with Britishness.
Right, but
so maybe her mom's British. I mean, maybe,
but I know Link doesn't talk, but like the king doesn't sound like that. The Deku Tree doesn't sound like that. No other character, like Impa, doesn't sound like that. Nothing. Like there's no weirdly British accent found anywhere except for with Zelda's voice. Yeah. And maybe if we got more voices throughout the game, we could have seen it more. But it just felt out of place in the scenes that she was just being herself.
Yeah.
So that's what I have to think on that. However, the pros of the voice acting, especially, I found really neat, were that the voice actors for the champions also lined up with the characters you meet from each region, aside from Sidon and Mipha, because they're brother and sister. Yeah. But they're the same voice actors.
1 second.
Okay.
I had one exception that you didn't list.
Oh, okay.
Mipha.
Really? You didn't like Mipha?
Her voice acting was not good.
Okay.
She always sounded like she was stressing her voice. I will protect you.
I think that the voice for Mipha was good. The acting part was not so good. Like the voice fit, it's just the inflection didn't match up, which I had some issues with Urbosa whenever we first meet her with Zelda. But like I got over that really quick because one, Urbosa, I mean, come on, she's hot. Also, I just like it just faded away with time as she spoke more.
Yeah.
You just didn't like her?
I hated me. Like the entire time she's giving her like, I will protect you speech. I get it was supposed to be like this big like character development moment. I just couldn't get over how bad she sounded to me.
I definitely agree that she was lacking the proper inflection in her voice part. Yes.
But the dungeons.
The dungeons.
We are on complete opposite ends of the spectrum. We agree on some parts, but there's one major thing.
I loved them, and that's my overall, like, I loved the dungeons. That's my stance on that.
I felt they were the weakest part of the game by a large margin.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
I will defend my points.
I will defend my points as well. Let me read you what I wrote today at about 7 o'clock this morning. I loved the dungeons in this game. They were so unique that you can actually maneuver the area and control the divine beast to solve
puzzles. I think something else that added to that was that you could see your objective. It was just figuring out how to get there. That was the best part. Each one was so memorable and unique, even though they looked similar in appearance. How you moved the machine, what puzzles were included, and how you solved them were all a part of a region as well. For Britannia, you had a lot with fire and fire arrows and the inside of the beast, and it started out completely dark. For Ruda, you had the elephant trunk that sprayed water. You can control it whichever way you wanted to help solve the puzzle. Souls had the water inside it, and Boris had the electrical puzzles within it, and Meadow had wind, currents, and tunnels that you had to open and close to help you navigate. The missions to get to the divine beast were probably the best part of the game, however, or probably the best part of the dungeons. However, because you got to do that with a new champion, except Unobos, because that one was terrible, if you helped... And it helped you grow more attached to the characters without giving them the sense of babysitting that you did like in Wind Waker, which is continuously playing the command melody and just dragging them everywhere.
So those are my overall opinions on the dungeons, which was rather long.
That was a lot. Okay, so
I wrote all that.
Let's go one bit at a time. Okay. First of all, I loved Unobos. Wait, no, Unobos. Yeah, Unobos was garbage. I was thinking about Tobu or whatever his name is. Yeah, Unobos was awful.
Yes, I will agree with you 100%.
It was the most escort questy out of all of them because you literally just had to tell him, "Follow me, stop."
Right. It didn't match up to the epicness of the others, and
it didn't really tell you what you were supposed to do.
Right.
I don't know if you did the same thing, but I got all the way to the end, then realized like nothing was happening, and so I had to go back, and I had to spend like 20 minutes running up and down this mountain trying to figure out what exactly I'm supposed to be doing to advance it.
I definitely did a similar thing. I got all the way to the end. I killed all the sentry robots, and I was like, what the heck am I supposed to do? There's nothing here for me to do. I thought we were going up to the thing. And then I had to backtrack all the way to the beginning because all the cannons face different spots. And in my opinion, I know it's an open world game and you can do what you want, but they shouldn't have let you advance and continued until you shot the divine beast.
It does nothing, at least to the two of us.
To the two of us.
It did nothing to tell you that was what you were supposed to do. And I'm pretty sure I was paying attention because I didn't really have trouble with any other part of the game. It was just that one where I was just left completely not sure what I was supposed to do.
And did you do that one last as well?
No, that was the second one I did.
Okay, because that was the last one I did. And like just going from the 3 before that to that, it was just so terrible.
Yeah.
And like the game, I feel, leads you on a path to do the water one first.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like they even intended for it to be the first one. Like they knew that people would have to go to this after all the others you do, and it just didn't match.
Yeah, I did not like that one. I will say my primary beef with the dungeons. I did like how the entire dungeon was movable. That actually took from my favorite part of Skyward Sword was the last dungeon in Skyward Sword. And in my opinion, that is the best dungeon in any Zelda game of all time because the entire dungeon is the puzzle. So they kind of took that idea and used it for all of the all 4 of the dungeons in this one. And really, I really like that. My only problem with the dungeons is the aesthetic and the monsters inside, or should I say the lack there. They're it just.
Sam has beef.
I've got beef. First of all, after the second dungeon, I got tired of just seeing the same gray beast. And I get that per the lore, they're supposed to look that way. But also per the lore, I think the lore shouldn't be used as an excuse to.
That's true. I mean, I can understand why nothing else was able to get into the divine beast and you just had the little guys in there that you're supposed to defeat and you had the little eyeball dudes.
And really, while I do have beef with the lack of monsters inside the dungeons, that one I can kind of get over because, they were bigger. They were supposed to be bigger shrines.
Right.
I could have at least done with 1 or 2 of the bigger sentry bot things from the major trials of strength.
Right. Oh, one of those guys in there.
Yeah, I think one of those kind of dabbled in amongst them would have added a lot more I don't know.
Variety.
Yeah, just something.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I enjoy the dungeons, I think, because I play Zelda for puzzles versus for fights.
Yeah.
So I loved the puzzle solving aspect of it. I mean, with the electrical puzzles and moving everything around, like, I loved doing that because that was something that I enjoyed in Zelda the most.
Yeah. And I agree. That part was fantastic. Especially in, like, the first dungeon. I did the water one first.
I did as well.
It took me forever to figure out that I was supposed to, like, take control of the beast and then use the beast to, like, solve the puzzles. And as soon as I realized that, I was like, what?
I know.
It's amazing.
I got the map, and then I did, like, the first terminal. And I was like, what am I supposed to do now? There's nothing more for me to go. I can't do anything else. And then I looked at my map, and I was apparently able to move this elephant trunk, and it was so cool.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
The escort, not so much the escort missions, but the missions to get into the divine beasts, aside from Yunobo's, were the funnest part.
Oh my god, they were amazing.
They were so great.
Like, those are the kinds of things, like, other games would, like, put in a cutscene or, like, a quick time event and make you do. But this one, you do it.
I know.
You do it yourself.
Like, Varuda I had zero complaints with at all. Like, Varuda did everything right. You went and you either snuck or you murdered the Lionel to get the shock arrows, which was already a task in itself. And then you went with Prince Sidon and you had to go and maneuver in this water, and it was so great. And that was just, like, it was the best part of the game was that. And then you had to do the same thing with the Sand Seals and Riju, and you had to do something very similar with Teba and Va Meadow, and it was just it felt so relieving and exciting, and the music was great. Man.
And, like,
if I could play more like that in the game. Oh.
And that's the primary thing that I want from Breath of the Wild 2 or whatever they make. More dungeons, more aesthetic variety in the dungeons, and more of those kinds of missions.
Those were so fun.
Like, I get open world's fantastic, but having those little, like, kind of scripted segments, so amazing.
But the bosses in the game of the dungeons,
again, my only complaint, I wish there was more aesthetic variety. They all look the same.
Yeah.
But they all kind of fought differently.
Yes, they fought a lot differently. I remember, like, going from, because I did Ruda and then I did Naboris, going from the water to the thunder, like, it was such a difference. I had so many issues trying to defeat the thunder one because I died like 7 times to this boss, and I was like, what is going on? This is terrible. I don't understand it. What am I doing wrong? And then I finally defeated him. I was like, yes, this is awesome. This is great. And then the next 2 after that just didn't seem to live up either.
Yeah. I think if I had to pin down one actual complaint I had with them, for the most part, they kind of, for Breath of the Wild, we can agree, does a fantastic job of taking, like, all the Zelda cliches and being like, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
We're doing our own thing.
Yeah.
Those kind of fell back into the old way, where it was like, shoot them in the eye and then smack them.
And I can get that because the Guardians had the central eye, which also shoots laser beams, and that's a weak point, I guess. But at the same time, why would Ganon also make those? I don't know.
I
also couldn't tell you, like, one from the other, especially the fire one and wind one. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's like Fire Blight.
Thunder
Blight. No, Thunder Blight is that
Thunder
one.
Blight's the hard one.
Wind Blight. So yeah, more aesthetic variety. Please get rid of the eyeball, or keep the eyeball, but, like, the other thing, the overworld bosses, they all have, like, the eye thing.
They all have the one central weak point.
Yes, but you can also, they all pretty much do something to try and stop you from hitting that.
Right, because
and the Hinox will, like, cover his eye after you hit him, so you have to, like, stasis him and shoot him or something like that. The boulder guy, Talus.
Talus.
Well, he's not just stone. There's a bunch of different
there's
ones.
also fire.
Yeah, and ice.
Yes, Ignis Talus and Frosty Talus.
His thing is on his back, and he constantly, like, turns to meet you, so it makes it a lot harder to hit. The Guardians, obviously,
they have legs.
They have legs. They move. They will.
They will fuck your shit if you're not careful.
If you can try and block with your shield, they'll break your shield unless you
your
parry it just right. So those all do like a really good job of like having that weakness, but not just giving it to you, making you work for it. But the Thunderblight, or all of them, with kind of the exception of the Thunderblight, don't really do anything to stop you from doing that.
I think Thunderblight is the one example of you not having to shoot him. Like it's just a dodging his attacks. And
I don't think
him.
you can even like. I think the first part of the fight you shoot him in the eye. It's been a while since I fought him, but
yeah, I mean you can shoot him other places as well. It just does more damage with the eye.
Yeah, and then after a while, it becomes really impossible to hit him with the eye, and you have to like do the flurry attacks and like dodge. So get away from the eyes. Or if you do the eyes, don't make it the way you beat the boss. Just make it a way to make it easier to beat the boss.
Yes. Exploration. I have mixed emotions on it, and I want to let you go first on this.
Okay.
Because I feel like yours is overall positive.
I will make the very bold claim that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild built the best open world ever made.
I can't agree with that because I haven't played another one like it. I haven't played Skyrim or anything like that.
See, that's exactly like... I would say the same thing, that I haven't played another one like it, because there isn't another one. Like, there's no other world.
But I've never played a game that's been open world.
You played Fallout 4.
Yeah, I played it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I didn't beat it by any means.
A lot of those worlds, they're just... You hear this all the time from the people who don't like Skyrim, including me. They call it wide as a lake, deep as a puddle. Mm-hmm. Pretty much saying it's huge, but there's not really much to it. And that's kind of the same thing. And that's not really... doesn't apply here, because like the entire world is built. There's so much stuff. No matter... Like, you see a mountain. For one thing, you can actually climb the mountain. And it's not like Skyrim where you can just glitch out the physics. You actually have to climb the mountain. And climbing the mountain is an entire minigame among itself. But like... climb the mountain, there's probably something at the top of the mountain to reward you for doing that. I remember there was one point I found this giant labyrinth, and you get to the center. I thought I would outsmart the game, and I would just climb up the edge and go to the center, right? I do that. I get to the center, it's topped off. Like, it's got a ceiling. But there's a chest there with I think it was
silver... said it was rupees.
Yeah, it was like a silver rupee, which is 100 rupees, which at that point in the game was a lot of money to me. So... The game developers very cleverly were like, no, you can't do that, but here's something else for your trouble. And the game is just full of stuff like that. Like the Korok Seeds, which, for people that don't know, they're little like mini puzzles, kind of like the Riddler trophies from Batman. The Batman trilogy.
There's 900 of them.
There's 900 of them. And they're just scattered throughout the world, so no matter what you do, you can look. And I told my friend Austin this. I said, if you see anything in the world that looks different or off, investigate it. It's probably a Korok.
Yep.
And those are just littered everywhere. There's chests everywhere. There's enemy encampments everywhere. There are little villages. You can find like travelers all over the place. And it's so like packed densely that no matter what you're doing, you can almost always find something to either reward you for exploring or just give you something awesome to look at. Like, for example, the ranch ruins that were obviously...
The ranch ruins. Yeah.
The ranch from Ocarina of Time.
I haven't found those yet
I
in
have.
game.
It's sad. But yeah, so there... And plus, the other thing that it does well is, like, a lot of the games that are, like, you can explore anywhere, you're kind of... Like, it limits you to running and maybe riding a horse, if there's a horse you can ride. But this game, like, it gives you so many different options for exploring.
I love paragliding.
You can paraglide.
That's the best thing. You
can shield surf down a hill, which is amazing.
That's never even occurred to me.
Yeah.
To do that.
I got like 30 hours in, and then somebody was like, "Yeah, I love surfing on my shield," and I was like, "What? You can do that?"
I remember it was like vaguely a little pro tip in the corner of the screen, like not even on a loading screen. I left one of the main 3 shrines at the beginning of the game. I just set it, and then an enemy came out of nowhere, and it went away immediately before I could finish reading it.
And so, like, you can shield surf, you can paraglide, you can climb, and they're like climbing and swimming. The use of the stamina bar, like, actually make those like you can't just climb or swim. You have to think about how your path and how you're gonna handle it. And like
you have boats as well.
Yeah, boats.
You have horses too.
Yeah, you do have horses. You have to catch the horses yourself and tame them and make them love you.
Mine's named Charles.
Yes. And it's just like they put so much thought into making sure you had so many different ways to get around the world that it's like...
Not to mention that fast traveling is available to you at the very beginning of the game.
Yes.
Which, like, I remember in Twilight Princess, it was like, oh my god, when am I going to be able to just go from place to place? God.
Twilight Princess was the worst. Especially because it made you backtrack so much.
Many times.
It's like you get to Kakariko Village, and then they're like, oh, we need this bridge. So then you have to go all the way back to the very first area, just running, as I think a wolf at that point. Or just on your feet.
Yeah. And plus, if you don't even remember where the bridge is, unlike us seasoned veterans, but I think it's just because Sam and I have different opinions with video games. But I play video games for story mostly, because I love story in video games. I think it's one of the best parts of video games, and it's a great storytelling medium to use. But because of all the exploration, I didn't feel like I could get enough story for how much there was in the world.
There's definitely not a lot of story. Main, developer-driven story.
Right, because there's 13 provinces, something like that, and only 4 of them you have to visit.
Yeah.
To complete the game.
Not even that.
Not even...
You only need one.
I mean, that's true. I mean, you only need one.
Yeah, you can literally just go to the final boss.
I know, it's just like... I don't know. I wish that there was the Divine Beast, and then there was another set. Like, typically there's the 3 dungeons in the beginning, and then something happens.
Yeah.
You get the ocarina. You can transform back and forth and from a wolf, something like that. And then there's the rest of them. There's 4 more after that. I wish there was an after that.
Yeah.
That made me go to all the other regions. That gave me a reason to go to these places aside from just exploration.
Yeah.
That's my beef.
More dungeons could have helped with that.
More dungeons. General thoughts, I feel overall, while this video may have sounded like us complaining about it mostly, the game is very, very well done.
Oh.
The game came out the 3rd, and the first day where I could have played it but didn't was yesterday.
Yeah, same here.
Because I wanted, there was a weekend where I couldn't play because I was away from home and I couldn't take it with me. But yesterday was a day where I was at home and I had it available and I just didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to. I just had other things to do. And so I feel like a game that can last that long with me wanting to play 3 to 4 hours of it a day is really well made. Especially when I I completed the story within the first week.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's great. It's a good game.
Yeah.
I don't have any major complaints.
Yeah, I agree. I think we spent a lot of time talking about the negatives, but that's because at this point, all the reviews only point out the positives.
All the positives have
so we kind of have to take some time and bring those up. But the thing, guy at work and a lot of people are like, it's not a perfect game. It's not a perfect game.
I don't think a perfect game will ever be made.
No, a perfect game doesn't. Well, the closest we'll ever get is Tetris. That's
true.
Because it's a very simple concept. But I think the reason it has more perfect scores than any other game ever made is because, while it's not a perfect game, the stuff that it does well does it so well that it completely overshadows every other negative. Even the stuff, anytime I was like, man, I wish this dungeon looked more more different than the other ones. An hour later, I had completely forgotten it because I was shield surfing down a cliff, jumping off, and then paragliding into a canyon. It does such a good job, and there's so much to it that it makes it so easy to forget while you're playing that any negative things exist about this game.
Your weapons breaking doesn't matter. You get one almost every time you defeat an enemy. You get another weapon. You feel like there's not enough puzzles in the game, then you find another shrine. There's just so much that's compelling you to keep going, and it blocks out everything that you don't think is right.
And that's another thing we didn't even touch on, the shrines.
We did not touch on the shrines.
There are 120 shrines, and they're most of them are little mini puzzle rooms, with other ones being little fighting test chambers, which are a consistent source of good weapons.
Exactly.
So as soon as you find those, the entire endurability argument kind of, it's still valid, but I feel it kind of goes out the window. Just because at that point you, like, at any point, if you're like, man, I don't have any weapons, which in my now 100 hours of playing has not happened to me once.
It happened to me recently just because I had a lot of terrible weapons.
But at any point, I can just teleport to any of those rooms. I can fight the enemy, and then I can get more weapons.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't, like, it does so much stuff so well. And the shrines, they kind of, have you played Portal?
Yeah, I played Portal. There's a series of me playing Portal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget about that. Yes, but like I feel like it kind of pulls on the same heartstrings that Portal does.
The test chambers,
where it's
some
just,
of them were so simple, and then some are so complicated.
They're just simple little concepts, and there's just so many of them that it just completely. Each one is going to in some way challenge your understanding of the game, and if you talk to enough people, you're going to find probably a dozen different ways that you can complete each of these chambers.
Right.
Like, there's one where you have to roll a ball around a little maze. And it's
you nerds just flipped it over.
I did it the hard way, where you actually guide the ball through the maze. Other people, I saw one person you can just flip the maze upside down. The ball drops, then you freeze it, and then you just go and hit it into the correct area. Other people kind of did it harder than that, where they flip it upside down and then try and like wing it onto the thing. There's 3 different ways, and I know other people just kind of tilted it to where it falls into the final lane, and then they just smack it over. So there's like so many different ways that you can do so many of these puzzles. It's incredible.
Sam, if you were a corgi, what ears would you give this?
1 ear up.
You'd give it 1 ear up?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
Are you gonna ask me?
We're giving it 2 ears up.
Yeah, I give it an ear. Sam gave it an ear. There's Mac. Mac, you want to give it some ears?
But yeah, that's all I've got to say on it. Fantastic game.
2
ears up.
2 ears up.
If you stuck around for all this, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this.
This is at the arcade. I hope you didn't waste your quarters. I'm not sure.
Check out next time whenever Ellen's played Spec Ops: The Line.
Yeah, as soon as I can play Spec Ops: The Line.
I have it over there.
Okay. Is it for 360?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Guess what Ellen's going to play?
I don't know if that'll actually be the next video to come out. But it's going to happen at some point because I want you to play it because you have an untainted experience with that game. I have an
untainted experience. That's correct. We'll not talk about this now because it's something else.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thanks for checking out.
Bye.
Bye-bye.